Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. This is Captain Bill. We are doing a preparation for the Austin upcoming convention in November, and we will be navigating the radar red zone, part 1 through 4, and be using the Garmin and Honeywell radars. So this 4-part series we'll go through. Part 1 is going to be information about the radar itself, a little bit of understanding the options, that come with the radar. Part 2 will be a little more on the weather, use of information to help us within the environment to be able to navigate and make strategic and aeronautical decisions. Part 3 will be the steps in the flow. We'll actually use the radar card, and we'll learn how to get the information quickly and make it applicable. Part 4 is going to be for the GWX-70 and up guys on how to use their radar strategically. So once again, welcome aboard. A couple of the monitors that are used. Once again, you can see the 600, and then you got a Bendix King KMD 850 and the G3000. So you can use either Garmin radars or the RDR 2000, 2100 and the Honeywell series, or any of the GWX 70 series radars also. Next, just a few more monitors. We've got GTN 750, which you can use the controls on that. I prefer having the G600, have them twist the wires so the G600 will get the radar. Their controls to me are just a little more user-friendly, and I like having the radar in front of me when I'm tactical. The GMX 200 is still out there. You can apply any of the radars to that. It's a fabulous box. And then once again, the 750 in full radar mode versus the nav mode and 120-degree sweep on there. And then the GMX 200 in the vertical mode, and really great monitors. Next. Okay, so we won't get into the old radars, but they have magnetrons. We'll be just speaking a little bit about the 70 and up. Solid state X-band pulse compression radar systems now are done with no magnetrons. Okay, so they do their pulse wave energy, which is X-band, because X-band is used because that's what you use around moisture, and their ability to get the correct pulse out at the rangers is just really a great thing for the having a resolution from 100 plus miles out all the way in now. This automatic stabilization, that's a normal feature. It should be defaulted on when you're flying. This horizontal sector scanning allows faster scanning of the specific areas. Fabulous. When you're in an area in the approach area and you got 2 or 3, maybe 4 different little cells that you're looking at, you can run your bearing indicator right over the cell, select horizontal sector scanning 20 degrees, and instead of 12 sweeps per minute on the screen to try and disseminate the information, you get 54 sweeps per minute within that 20-degree sector scanning. Very quickly, 3 times, 4 times as fast you can get the information you need to move on to the next step. The vertical scan allows insight into vertical weather development. They call it, allows insight. I think it's everything to do with what we have. Okay, even the airliners don't have vertical scanning, and this vertical scanning for us at this level is just absolutely fabulous to differentiate between ground return and weather. The weather attenuating color highlight watch identifies potential shadowed areas of precipitation. In the old days, it kind of worked. It was a Honeywell thing. And it kind of just says, I can't see what's behind the cell I'm looking at. You might want to just keep your heads up and see what's going on. We use the NexRad for our identifying potential shadowed areas now, which is fabulous to work with that in correlation. So the weather watch, I normally, will have that off most of the times. This target alert, bands display maximum returns beyond the current view range. It shows alerts from the 80 to 320 mile and, beyond the current view range. This is another one of them things, just like the watch that I don't use anymore. Because of the beam width of this 10-inch antenna, the watch and the alert are always going off on you because of the wide beam width picking up the ground returns. So I basically turn them off and I replace them with the next red. Altitude compensating technique, adjust for tilt for changes in altitude. Once again, turn that off and turn that off and you can find out that that really doesn't work well, once again, because of the small antenna size. On the larger antennas, 18-inch, it works pretty well. The optional ground clutter suppression and turbulence detection is pretty exciting. It kind of works. It's not 100% in the turbulence detection, of course, using the Doppler, ability to see how the precipitation is moving in time, and then relating it to your movement is really nice. And these are some of the original 70 options that they put in there. Next. Now, they stepped up and they came ahead with the 75 and the significant advancement in the airborne weather radar. So it includes all your 70 features, but they came up with this multi-core processor and expanded memory. So it's just a lot faster. The resolution is just fabulous when you're watching the cells come in. This advanced waveform technology with improved sensitivity, the STC, the automatic gain controls for controlling the size and the contour has just been improved. And this enhanced color palettes for improved weather differentiation. Yeah, they put that on there. They put multiple layers of different colors of green and yellow and red to try and identify the reflectivity values. I don't use it myself. I don't see how you can actually be that exact with it compared to us doing the gain reduction. But they did that so you wouldn't have to do gain reduction. But I personally don't use it. Next. Okay, this enhanced color palette they were just talking about. Greatly improved weather return, intensity differentiation, no need to adjust gain control. So I'm not in agreement with that. That's fine. You can use it that way, but I just think it's just way too many crayons for what I'm trying to discern. So what happens is levels of weather in the video outputs, you can have a red cell, okay, that can be a lot of different reflectivity values. I don't like to discern it by the colors. I like to do it by the actual measurement of the center of the beam of the cell. Next. Okay, so turbulence detection, once again, fancy schmancy. It's just white. Okay, so they're using the Doppler and they're using the shifting of the waveforms within that area of area mass, and it depicts it as white. Okay, next. The GWX 80 or the GWX 8000 now, state-of-the-art system with automatic mode. Okay, so includes all the 75 goodies, a major advancement in both threat identification and the ease of use, okay, which is threat identification. They're going to have predictive wind shearing in there, and they have some other automatic features. And the automatic mode greatly reduces pilot workload. So once it senses that it has a reflectivity value out there, it'll automatically turn on. The automatic 3D volumetric scanning makes threat identification much easier. So it's a multi-scan radar, and it's searching the threat levels at different ranges based on the freezing level, and it's printing those on the screen for you. Okay, and once again, that along with the ground clutter suppression kind of makes it work pretty good. Used it in the airliners for years and years and years. The multi-scan with Honeywell and Rockwell, and this is basically on that idea. Predictive lightning and hail region depictions. Once again, the storm scope type information there, and hail region depictions. We discern that, but it's something you really don't want to deal with. Optional predictive wind shear alerting. That's an optional switch. That's kind of cool. works below 1,200 feet. And if you happen to have a wind shear on the takeoff or a wind shear on the arrival, you know, within 5 miles, and it's going to let you know that there's wind shear ahead of you, and you can make the decision to do your escape maneuver to move from that. Next. So now this here is just the automatic mode, explanation. It places your system in the weather mode for you. Does the turbulence detection. It's activated. Ground clutter suppression is activated. It activates the 3D volume scanning, the multi-scan, automatic adjustable antenna sweep pattern to build a picture of the volume of air ahead. And then it enables the hail protection and lightning protection. So that is the automatic switch that you see over there in your controller. Next. Okay, so predictive wind shear alerting. If you wanted to have that turned on, if you're flying in some areas of the country where there's a lot of wind shear, it's sort of mountainous, it might be a good thing to have. This detects the hazardous performance loss, associated with the wind changes. It'll only alert you below 1,200 feet, 25 degrees of the ground track, and about 0 to 5 miles out. The airliners all have them. They have a predictive wind shear, which this is predictive. So you can go ahead and make a move. And they have a reactive wind shear at the airline where you must make a move and do an escape maneuver. So this could actually give you a little time to do what you need to do to make you aware. Okay, it's kind of neat. Next.
Automatic frequency shifting. Sometimes you're looking at your monitor going, oh, there's something wrong with my radar. It's just other systems also transmitting on the same frequency. And this has the ability to shift the frequency to minimize the spike.
Next. And identification of precipitation-based threats. So this is kind of like your pre-flight stuff, and we'll go through it in part 2. Your pre-flight activities for your strategic avoidance of weather threats, which I like, okay? Develop a clear mental picture of the atmospheric conditions. Get the big picture before you go. Identify whether the hazardous weather is forecast or likely along your route. Okay, a lot of great information to help you with that. Review the current conditions just prior to flight, and that's sort of a trend thing. Does the weather look a little better than it was when I figured it, or is it looking a little bit worse? And then make your adjustments for that. Next. This is identification of precipitation-based threats in flight activities for, they've got tactical avoidance of weather threats, but this is why I wrote strategic on top of it, because they're telling you activities for tactical avoidance with NexRad. Don't do that. Don't think that way. You can do it long range outside of 40 miles, but I don't like the tactical word associated with you thinking you can work your way in closer. That's all. So SiriusXM identifies the areas NexRad, winds aloft, lightning, and echo tops, which is absolutely fabulous as a supplement to the radar, but keep it strategic. Next.
Okay, in the identification of precipitation-based threats, we're now using the airborne radar, and we are in the X-band frequency range. And our in-flight activities for tactical avoidance of the weather threats is just me using 40, 30, 20, and 10-mile ranges with the beam at the freezing level to get the best reflectivity value. And it says airborne radar display is used to identify possible threats to investigate on a dedicated radar pane. So when I'm in ice takes the center stage, and when I'm in the weather around using the radar takes the center stage or gets the microphone, and everything else kind of works around behind that. You can overlay your nav map and have the radar on that. I don't like to do it. It's just too much going on one page for me. And you can have the XM overlays and do a whole bunch of different things in order to get this set up the way you want.
Okay, so this is just a little ditty, a little bit more about how the radar uh, reflectivity levels compared to Doppler levels. So you have NexRad reflectivity and Doppler. So once again, this is from the WSR 88D radars, which is the Weather Channel, which is center controls. Okay, so you have it coming from the satellites or ground-based. It's S-band and weather radar is X-band. So it's two different frequencies. So basically, radar was born first and has seniority. So as this comes along, this tries to take the crayons and color in what it believes the radar think it would be. So just remember that. This is trying to imitate what radar is telling you. This is a radar also, but it's not X-band, okay? Because this will see anything in the air. It'll see a swarm of gnats. NexRad, the sensitivity is so great on the on this radar, this WSR 88D, and you're like, well, why can't we have that in the airplane? You can have it in the airplane. You just have to attach a 24-foot dish on the front of your plane, okay, to get the information, because that's the size of the antenna. Have you ever seen the AWACS airplanes? They got that giant dish on top flying horizontally. Okay, so they're using certain radars outside of the X band. Now, this NexRad intensity, you see they have levels here. So NexRad, which we're talking about 8 levels of weather, you can see they go up 1, 2, then they combine 3 and 4 is heavy, and 5 through 8 is intense for NexRad. And there's your colors: black, green, yellow, red, purple. All right, and that's what NexRad's going to give you, derived from the satellites. Okay, and that's S-band. Then you come over on the ground over here, and you get these kids with this box of crayons, okay, and they color all these little boxes in, and that's the raw Doppler information, shades of weather, okay, the Weather Channel, WSR ground-based S-band. Okay, so that's what they're trying to do to let you know, and then there's the associated reflectivity that goes along with each of those colors. Next. Okay, this is a little bit more, but this is more towards the radar itself. In the left column is the display level for radar, color radars, okay? You just have black as a color: green, yellow, red, and magenta. So black is a color, so you're like, what do you mean black's a color? Well, if you're flying along and you're cooking along at 200, 300 knots and it's raining, and the radar's painting, you did a perfect job sticking the beam at 15,000. There's stuff all over the windshield, and the radar's not showing anything, and you're like, oh, what the heck's going on with my radar? Nothing. It's just painting it as 22 dBZs or less. It doesn't want to bother you. But moving that fast through light rain can look significant on the windshield, but you're okay. It's painting it black. And then as it moves up through the video outputs based on the measurement of the reflectivity return to the antenna, it changes and gives you the additional colors. Okay, well, the colors are great, but the radar can't really tell you what level of weather it is. If you're in a warm front and the atmosphere is saturated with moisture heavy, you're going to get red returns across the screen even in a warm front. Okay, so you have to discern it yourself with the gain reduction. Now, this video integrator processor in the middle is the categorization of what the National Weather Service in the history of radar has used to tell you what level of weather you're in. So if he says, hey, Meridian 5 Zulu Golf, 12 o'clock, 10 miles, you got some moderate rain, you're flying along going like, oh, 10 miles, I got moderate rain. Okay, that's all right, that's cool. Hey, Meridian 5 Zulu Golf at 12 o'clock and 10 miles, I'm showing some level 2 weather. And you're like, level 2. Okay, level 2 is okay. Meridian 5 Zulu Golf, 12 o'clock, 10 miles, I'm showing a 35 dBz return. And you go, ooh, 35. That's the middle of a level 2. Okay, he said the same thing in 3 different languages. So that's how we discern. Now, the
right-hand column under the VIP categories shows NWS, the National Weather Service, WSR 57 and 74 radars being phased out. These are the red rotating antennas you see at these airports, And they're really good because if you still see them out there spinning around, that's actually X-band radar going out, and it's the same thing. Now on the Doppler, when you're getting information from the WSR-88D, some approach controls, center uses it. They have a new terminology referring to weather, and they only have 4 levels of weather. And most of the times you hear from them, you've got heavy to extreme precipitation at blah, blah, blah. Hair goes up on the back of your neck, and it's not really a good thing. They've just had a indication of a level of reflectivity that sent them a color dot, and they've just got to let you know that it's out there. A lot of the performance features of the radars, a little bit about reflectivity, X-band versus S-band. And we're going to move on now, and hope you enjoyed that. And after the coffee break, we'll come on to part 2.